And for love's sake, each mistake that you forgave, and we're solid, solid, solid as a rock. Ding, 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 ding. I'm amazed at how great of a playlist there is at the grocery store and at the drugstore. I was just a grocery outlet, bargain market last night. And there weren't many people in the store. They're getting ready to close, and the music was particularly loud, and I was digging it. I was loving the music. It was like all from my generation, mostly 80s. 80s is a little bit of 90s, tiny bit of 70s, but mostly 80s. Like, this is fantastic, man. This is the best playlist of all. If grocery outlets started a radio station, I would listen to it. Not only would I listen to it, but I'd try and talk them into letting me be a DJ on there. I'd love to play those all those songs I played when they were brand new when I first started in my career early in radio in Sacramento and San Francisco, California, and some Los Angeles work and all over the state mostly. Did some radio work in Nashville too, and also Salt Lake City. And no, I'm not. Always have to finish with that. Which is why I'm no longer in Salt Lake City. Trust me on this. If you're not one of them, they let you know you're not really welcome there. Don't ever let anyone else convince you otherwise. If you're not one of them, you're thinking of, I'll move to Utah. They're a clique and they will exclude you, especially your business. They're terrible with people who are running businesses coming in there and they're not LDS. Of course, I left a few years ago. I've been gone a long time now. I left before the Olympics actually went there, and maybe it's different now. I'm just telling you what I experienced. Why am I sharing all this with you? I had caffeine. So that's my only explanation. I will encourage you to continue watching despite my ramblings because I have one of my favorite guests on. Arthur Schaper is back. He's a writer, author, commentator, brilliant dude with all kinds of insight, and he's just I don't know he's a fellow believer, he's a follower of Christ Jesus, and a conservative. Right on. Yeah, we can be buddies. I can be buddies with anybody, but until you start bashing my Lord and my politics, then I start having little conversations with you. And I do talk about two things you're never supposed to talk about: politics and religion. This is my new mug that you're going to find on my website. Look at that beauty. 15 ounces. That's a big mug. I got big hands and I got all four fingers in the handle, and I love big mugs. I cannot lie. The Mother Brothers can't deny. There's another top 40 reference right there. So you can get that at charliesimons.com. You can get hats, shirts, all kinds of stuff there, and you'll be helping this show stay on the air because they share with me in the profits of whatever you buy. Just in time for Christmas. It's already happening. I've been seeing Christmas stuff in stores for at least a month now. Started about August, I think. So there you go. Please shop early, shop often. CharlieSimons.com, CharlEssimons.com. Oh, one more quick commercial before I get out, because there's election results to talk about. Election results to talk about. What happened? New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, California, Prop 50. If you haven't heard yet, we're going to be covering all of that. But I want to encourage you also to please go to this website right here. That little QR code will take you right there. It's Nueva Life, Nueva, Spanish for new life, nuevalife.com/Charlie Simons. If you put that into your URL, it will take you automatically to my page and will set you up for a 10% discount on all products. We're talking collagen, we're talking weight loss, we're talking energy, coffee drink, all kinds of great things there. Just go there, and it's all United States of America. USA sourced, USA made, USA period. And I'm all about that. So go to nuevalife.com/Charlie Simons, or just put your phone on that little QR code there. And while you're doing things, one more quick suggestion. I'm getting my ding finger ready because I'm going to ask you to like this show. Ding. When you like this show, it helps break down the algorithms, and share them, please. You're helping the show that way grow as well. And you're the only reason why I do this. You're the only reason. You're the one who shares these things. Facebook deleted all my pages. I got no way to let people know I'm even doing new shows. So you have been. You've been stepping up. It's been exciting to watch shows get like started off. Oh, I was lucky if I broke 100 views on shows when I first started. Now it's like 1,000, 2,000. One got 121,000. So that's been exciting. Arthur Schaper on Do Not Talk. Let's talk about election results right now. Are you ready? Hit it. What's up, stud?
You know, in spite of the election results last night, I am doing just fine. You know, I always look to the future. I try to get too dragged down by the drawbacks from election night last night. Can't say that I was too surprised, although there were some really disturbing disappointments. But by and large, I think what's more important is we got to really understand why it happened and what we do going forward. But other than that, I'm fine.
I just want to ask any of my friends or anyone watching who lean to the left, when is enough pain going to be enough for you to change your voting patterns? How much does it take for you to go through before you finally go, that's it? Like President Trump said before the election, what do you got to lose? Yep. What have you got to lose? Stop voting for the same thing just because it has a D in front of its name. Please stop. Please come to a little self-realization. Do some reflective thinking, whatever it takes. Pray about it. Yeah, there's this creator who's waiting for you to come to him. And that's why I'm not completely down and out today, because we suffered some horrific losses.
Yes.
And that's because I have the peace beyond all understanding. And that's the only explanation. I have the Lord Christ Jesus, and I have his word promising me a peace beyond all understanding, because I no longer can't say it's always been this way, but there was a point where I was like, I put all my eggs in the Republican basket. Oh yeah, we'll save everything. We got the right ideas. Well, people will wake up and they'll realize this is a better way. No, not anymore. I rely on the Lord. Come hell or high water, whatever's happening, I'm going to choose the high water because I want to be with the Lord in all things. Yeah. And I want his will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. So it's by design that whether people wake up or whether they remain blind, including those on our own side, Arthur, including those on our own side who seem to be blinded. What happened with Prop 50? Let's start with our home state of California. What happened with Proposition 50?
Well, whether we like it or not, the state of California is still overrun with a lot of people who are woke, liberal, progressive.
Illegals.
Orange man bad is the dominating theme. I know a lot of people want to stress election integrity, which is an issue. I mean, Huntington Beach's voter ID initiative was just struck down by an appellate court here in the state of California. It's awful. We do need voter ID, but that's where Carl DeMaio's voter ID initiative comes into play, and it's very popular. This is an issue that wins across the country. Unfortunately, there was a defeat for voter ID in the state of Maine. There was a statewide initiative on the ballot. It failed. So I don't know what's going to happen.
Texas, though. A success in Texas.
Oh, it's been in Texas for a long, long time.
Yeah, no, I mean, but just yesterday they passed a making sure that you're only able to vote if you're here legally, which is going to help. California would never do that because they padded the ballot box with all the illegals who they are fairly confident or 99.9% are going to vote for the left to keep those freebies coming, even if the left stands against everything that their own faith and religion is against. It's the oddest thing to me, but it's about integrity.
There's only 13 states that have like no ID requirements when it comes to voting, and of course, that ironically includes Pennsylvania, but Pennsylvania has been moving into the red column now. Off and on. I mean, here we're, twice now in the last, in the last 8 years, Pennsylvania voted for Trump. And so it shows that there's always hope. It's really interesting. Voters are very much motivated by what's in their own interest, what protects their power on a basic level.
They're going to vote for whoever's going to keep the freebies coming.
That's the other thing too. And that's why when you're talking about how much pain will it take for people to change their vote when the benefits dry up. And I think that's why I have no problem with the shutdown lasting to the end of the year at this point. We have 42 million people on SNAP, and a lot of them are illegal. A lot of them are migrants. Like I think 45% of Somalis in the country, most of them are in Minnesota, they're on government assistance. You've got a lot of this in Michigan too. These are serious problems that need to be eradicated. But this is why you see blue states sadly getting bluer. But let's going back to California, putting aside, there will always be voter fraud, but the margins are too great. The current results show 63% voted for Prop 50. Orange County, 55%. Orange County is not the conservative bastion anymore. It's gone. Now, there is voter fraud. That is a serious issue. There has been a growing effort to eradicate that.
If there's any proof of voter fraud, it's Orange County voting predominantly yes for 50. That's insane. I did not know that. How did that happen?
But there's another side to it as well. I mean, the city of Irvine has tripled. It's gone from like 110,000 to 330,000 residents. That's a lot of immigration from Asian countries, and a lot of them are registering as Democrat. People are moving to Irvine because it was, I believe it still is one of the safest cities in the country.
Yeah,
they had one murder. I went to UC Irvine. I mean, it was so placid. It was so quiet. The police would like harass people just for walking the wrong way on a sidewalk. Or if they saw a group of college students, police would say, "We want you to go inside." I mean, there was so little to police. They had nothing to do. There was the first murder occurred like in 2015 at one of the dorms.
When they have some kind of traffic stop, 28 vehicles show up.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, people moved to Irvine. You have an influx of people. It turned the county blue. It's a real problem, and it's very frustrating. I'm putting aside the voter fraud issues again. I don't diminish them, but I don't think we should rest exclusively on that. We've got to face some really unpleasant realities about some of the voting areas in our country.
And us not showing up.
I'm sorry?
And us not showing up.
And us not showing up. See, this is the other thing too. I wrote about this in my latest article for American Thinker. I had a lot on my mind. I had a lot of thoughts on what happened tonight, in part because we had talked about this. We talked about New York City. We talked about what was happening a little bit in New Jersey and Virginia too. And all of it kind of crystallized. I was able to put something together last night, and American Thinker took it this morning. So you can visit. I'm at the top of the website on americanthinker.com. Very grateful for their promotion of my work. The first thing I point out is a turnout problem. The Republican Party brand has expanded, but the flip side of that is a lot of the people who turned out for Trump in 2024, huge turnout, correct? These are people who usually vote only in presidential elections, and they only vote in November. That is a problem because you've got important elections at the state, the city, the school district, local levels that are, I submit to you, more important because these are issues that directly affect you every single day. And this is also true at the state level. And this is a problem the Republican Party needs to figure out. It's not enough to talk about banking the vote or casting your vote early. They've got to get a turnout operation together, and that's not happening. And this is something that I myself had to accept. We can't look at state legislative elections through the lens of the presidential election. We can't look at local elections that way. Especially when it comes to turnout, you just can't do that. Every election has to be treated differently. You can't rest on your laurels. You can't expect a similar dynamic just because the election turned out a certain way in the previous. So this is a warning for Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Nothing is ever guaranteed. You have to turn out the vote. You've got to campaign and connect with voters on these issues. There is a slight silver lining to all of this. There has been ongoing concerns that elections are getting so nationalized. When you're a Republican in a blue city and you're just running so that you can get the streets paved and get the police doing their job again, that should be an issue that resonates with everybody. But you've got Democrats who want to nationalize every election in the state of California. They want to drag down any Republican running for mayor or city council or school board. What happened last night in a way suggests that elections are getting localized again. Look what happened in New Jersey. Look what happened in Virginia. You had Democrats sweeping the ballot, even though in New Jersey, Trump was like within 6 points, whereas Biden had won New Jersey by 13 in 2020. So it looks like things were going in our direction. But what was at stake with the federal election? Open borders, massive inflation, the incompetence of Joe Biden, all of this, and plus the fact that the Democrat Party rammed down a coronation candidate with Kamala Harris. All of these hurt the Democratic
Coronation
background.
candidate. I love it. It's a
There you
nicer
go.
way to say DEI.
That's the bigger part of it too. She was incompetent. She was inarticulate. Everything was wrong with her. But see, now then you fast forward to New Jersey, Virginia. Okay, well, let me wrap up with Prop 50. There's so much to talk about.
I know.
So we have to accept the fact that we've got a lot of wokesters in California. It's not Reagan's California. It's not Nixon's California. And we have a Republican Party that just doesn't want to accept this. They just want to hide behind, well, the demographics are changing. No, you're not doing your job. Kevin McCarthy was supposed to put forward multi-million dollars to help prop up the No on 50 campaign. He didn't do it. He was a no-show. Arnold Schwarzenegger, that guy can only do so much. He's one guy. He doesn't have a pack onto his own, and he has a diverse reputation. I mean, you've got a lot.
Yeah, I was just going to say diverse reputation. He
nice
always
way.
puts it much more diplomatically than I do.
This is a guy. He governed ultimately as a rhino, especially towards the latter part of his tenure as governor, and he hates Trump. But the thing is, though, that it was when Schwarzenegger.
And he hates freedom. Screw your freedom. Sorry.
There you go. Exactly. Shame on him for that. But Schwarzenegger, when he was the face of No on 50, it was polling well. But they ultimately made it about Trump. The Democrats, everybody made it about Trump. Every major Democrat power player. There was a advertisement I was frequently seeing on YouTube. You had Gavin Newsom. You had Elizabeth Warren, Jasmine Crockett, Barack Obama. They all campaigned for 50. There were no Republicans. There was no effort from outside of the state or any of the top leadership going on TV or making commercials saying, don't do this.
And most of the No on 50 campaign was grassroots stuff.
Yes, it was. The signs were grassroots. People had to make their own signs. David Hernandez, he's the vice chair of the state party representing Los Angeles County, and he said the cavalry is not coming. It is up to us. Well, you know what? There isn't enough of us. This is a hard pill to swallow, but it just isn't there. And we're talking about an initiative election in an off year. And the fact is, whether we like it or not,
over $300 million.
I'm sorry?
That cost us over $300 million.
Yes, it sure did. All this talk about it having minimal impact or cost on us is a total lie. That, to me, is an actionable charge. That's one reason alone to sue in court to overturn this thing. But at any rate, we were outgunned, outnumbered. Republicans are not voting in the state of California, and the Republican Party isn't doing anything about it. This is something that this is a real shock to the system. We've got people like Larry Schweikert on X, and he's a historian, academic, a pundit. He wrote about Trump's first election win in 2016, along with Breitbart News writer Joe Pollak. They love talking about how voter registration is changing. In New Mexico, in New Jersey, there's more people registering as Republicans. It doesn't matter if they don't vote.
If they don't show up.
This is a real problem. So this goes to the next issue. Why is it that Republicans are not showing up? Well, you have to get the word out to people. We're not seeing that in the state of California. We've not seen that in a lot of places. So that's an issue. I want to get to the silver lining before I forget this. The very day, well, here it is, the next day, today, you had Harmeet Dillon and you had Mark Moiser. They filed a lawsuit in federal court. They are going after Prop 50, pointing out that it illegally created racialized districts, trying to create more majority Latino districts. This is not done yet. I talked about this. I want to give myself a little pat on the back here. I said, even if this were to pass, there are so many legal problems with the nobody, it's how did Bismarck always said, lawmaking is like sausage making. You don't want to know the details. And that's how corrupt and imprecise this whole process was to force Prop 50 onto the voters. I think they violated the 72-hour rule. They waived a bunch of rules they shouldn't have done. There wasn't proper notification to the public. There was a repeat question asked by many California lawmakers. They asked, who drew the maps? Who drew the maps? We needed to know that, and they would not tell us. We don't know until today. It was Paul Mitchell, a Democrat operative, who designed the maps. We're hearing this after the fact. Right away, we've got a problem. And this is in complete contravention of the initiative or the constitutional amendment we all voted for. I think it was in 2008. So there are huge legal problems here. There's a federal lawsuit that's already been filed. Previous lawsuits have been dismissed. Harmeet Dillon is a crackerjack attorney. She works for the Department of Justice. She is the head of the Civil Rights Division. She has won numerous cases already. She is a superb attorney, an excellent advocate. This is a case that you know will have legs. And guess what? No matter what the final ruling will be, the key point is an injunction that the new maps cannot be used while the case is in litigation. They are
that's what I was going to say. I mean, as you well know, 99% of every Democrat seems to be their attorneys, and they know how to drag stuff out. So all they need to do is have it cover the 2026 election, if nothing else, and they'll be happy. But they're going to drag this out as long as possible. But the injunction is a different story, isn't it? But there's still so many swampy judges in California.
You know what? I am more optimistic. The Ninth Circuit is getting more conservative. President Trump just appointed a conservative justice to the First Circuit, which was completely resistant to Trump appointees. He didn't have an opportunity to appoint even one. I know that's the New England Circuit, but my point is he is still reshaping the judiciary. He was able to start a lot sooner this time because the Senate hit the ground running. There are more conservatives on the Ninth Circuit, but regardless, I can't see how an injunction would not be permitted, because this is an extremely broad, disruptive change, and there are serious legal problems that do have to be litigated. I am more confident than not that a judge will enjoin and hold off and say, you're going to use the district lines that were established in 2022. And that's the end of it. That is my prediction. This is going to be put on hold. Not only that, I think I've talked about this with you before. I know I've written about it before. There was a seminal case regarding the Voting Rights Act that was recently litigated. It was Louisiana versus Calais. This was about 2 months ago, where the majority, the 6-3 conservative majority, was clearly indicating they were going to strike down Section 2, which would put an end to suing states if they don't create enough majority-minority congressional seats. So if you do that, that means that Louisiana, Georgia, Mississippi, South Carolina, North Carolina, even Michigan and California, well, California's Democrat, but we're talking about red states that are forced to create these blue, majority black districts because it's racist if you don't. What's going to happen is all those districts will go away. The states will be free to put race out of consideration entirely. And I guarantee you'll see 19 more seats. That's been the average. 19 more House seats will go Republican.
As I learned, which will negate anything California does.
Exactly. And as we speak, let me get this in. Florida, they've got the best governor in the country. That's what I was going to bring up.
It's in your article.
Governor DeSantis is already on the warpath. He has a legislature that is cooperating with him, if for no other reason. There are at least, there are more than 5 state legislators who would love a shot to be a congressman. So they're going to allow DeSantis, drop the districts, create 5 more Republican seats, because I want to go to Congress too. And they absolutely should do it in Florida. They should absolutely counterbalance. It's California that's cheating. Texas was required to do this by court order. They unmandered the seats. I've said it before. I will say it again. They unmandered them. You have to gerrymander to create these majority-minority seats. And you've got black voters in northern Louisiana who are more conservative than a lot of the white voters. And you know what? They were forced into a deep Democrat seat. This is unjust. It is not representative. So nobody can accuse me of saying, well, you're trying to disenfranchise voters based on race. We really shouldn't be talking about race at all. We should be talking about Americanism, our citizenship, and our natural rights. Blah.
Thank you.
So regarding Prop 50, that's the final say on it. This is not over. And you know what? It's so sad and cynical, but Governor Newsom, the only reason ultimately he did this was to prop up his presidential option, his presidential campaign. That's the
To
only
look like a
reason. It didn't
badass.
matter if it
And then, no,
lost. He could
yeah.
have said, look, I tried to fight, but I didn't have any support. He could have spinned it any way he wanted to because he's good at that. He is dollar store Patrick Bateman. And this is what it's all about. Yet there's poll after poll which shows even if they voted by broad majorities for Prop 50, they don't want Newsom to be the next president. So even then, it's going to shoot himself in the foot. This has set up a chain reaction. Ohio just did their redistricting. They've added 2 Republican seats. So that's helped them. There's a current map. It suggests that there are 212 solid Republican House seats going into 26. They only need to win 6. There's 2 that are up for grabs in Arizona, 1 in Iowa, 1 in Wisconsin, 1 in Michigan, 1 in Maine. Maine second, I think that a Republican will win that seat. That's 6. So they'll have 218 again. So it's not over as far as the country is concerned, as far as the Trump agenda is concerned. But we do have to prepare for some somber realities in California. We've got a lot of wokeness. People have not suffered enough. That's just the way it is. I talked about this. After seeing the results for Prop 50, I guess I have to have a somber take. I guess we're not going to get the governor's seat next year. I hate saying it, but we're going to have to rely on a proper president and a proper federal government that is going to go to great lengths to protect our borders, to protect our rights, and to protect the people. And I think that is more promising. Let me go from California. I'd like to talk about Virginia, New Jersey, and New York State.
Definitely New York. Yeah, I got some thoughts on that.
All right,
but before we move out of
let me get
California,
the less contentious ones out of the way because New York City, I think, is really important. Okay, Virginia. Now, I actually wrote about Winsome Sears. I said that she did have a chance, but she had to really get her messaging down and focus on issues in the state. And damn it, she didn't do that. This lady, she ran the 1990s Republican establishment program. I'm black. I'm a woman. I'm an immigrant. You should vote for me just because I'm a Republican too. That doesn't cut it. Nobody cares on the right. We're past that. President Trump is blowing out all the DEI nonsense. We're not interested anymore. Nobody gives a crap. And independents in Virginia don't care either. They care about their kids being safe at schools. They care about the crime rates going down. They care about inflation. They care about these bread and butter issues. And she did not speak to those. She didn't speak to them in any convincing way whatsoever. And keep in mind, Virginia, this is another reason I don't want to get caught up too much in election integrity issues, because even in blue states, they're forced by DOJ or by court order or by local initiative to get rid of the voters who shouldn't be there. You're seeing even Virginia does have election integrity measures. They do have voter ID, for example. So we can't keep hiding behind election fraud or voter fraud only. The fact is that Winsome Sears, she ran on she rode a wave. Glenn Youngkin was the real hero in 2021. He stepped on he hit on the issue, parental rights. When
hang on, he froze up. I hope you come back because I wanted to hear what you were saying about Glenn Youngkin. Dag nabbit, you froze up, buddy. If you can hear me, go out and come back in, and I'll just fix this in post, as they say. If you can hear me, I hope you can. I don't know what happened. It sucks. Everyone watching live right now, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. Please stick with us. Let's see if we can get this remedied. I'll try it. I'll remove you from. Let's bring you back in. Dang it. Come on. Okay, he went out. Now he'll come back in. Son of a gun. We were on a roll. It's time to go solo. Another top 40 music reference. Ice Ice, baby. I got to interview him, by the way, Vanilla Ice, one time. He was totally cool. Cool dude. Smart dude. Excuse me. Come back, Art. Dang it. I'm going to text him right now. Are you coming back on? voice to text. And if you're like me, you experience problems with that all the time. I'm always having to go. One time I sent a text out to somebody that had the F word in it. I never said anything that even came close to sounding like the F word, but voice to text put it in there and I didn't catch it. I didn't proofread before I hit send. Working on it right now. Okay, yeah, that must be something. Roger that. Roger that. We're standing by. I hope you stay. Don't go away. This is important talk. This is important for us to don't be disheartened with what happened yesterday with all the elections across the nation, as the media is going to start telling you, oh, it's all a vote against Trump. It's all a vote against Trump. Well, these are diehard, stuck in the 1960s goofball hippies running these different states and including California. So don't be disheartened. Okay. I'm getting a message from him right now. Something happened to my internet connection, so it's so weird. So I'm restarting my computer. He's really cooking, so we know there are enemies out there who don't want me to be heard. This is a text I just got from Arthur. Amen. Amen. More voice to text. I was in a movie. This is going back quite a ways. Was it the early 2000s? No, it was about 2008, 2009, I think. I was in this movie where I played a bad guy. And I've always been clean shaven. And so when I'm playing this bad guy in this film called, if you want to look it up, it's called Gold Fools. And not Fool's Gold, Gold Fools. And the producer was Tremendum Pictures, and a couple of great people put it together, and they were funding it. It was one of those independent films, and I got to play a bad guy. Finally, I've been in several other films and so on, but I never got to play a bad guy, and I finally did, and I loved it. It's fun being a bad guy, but I had to try and toughen up my look because I have kind of a baby face, so I grew this goatee thing. Now it used to be completely black, like my hair, and a lot more of it. And now it's got gray up here, which if you don't see up close, it's mustache all the way up. A little further back, it looks like I have one of those pencil mustaches, like one of those French fellows or something. And I had a full goatee, and I've kind of hung on to it ever since. I just kept it. I thought, well, it's kind of, yeah, I'll go with that. And but now it's so getting so gray, so white that I'm thinking about cutting it off, just shaving it all off and going clean shaven again. I have to shave off this lower part every time I do anything with the military anyway, which I am in a branch of the military, Army. And because of my political stance, I can't even talk about that other than just know I do serve. So I have to shave this off every time I do anything, report to headquarters or anything anyway, because you can't have that in the Army. You can have the mustache, but it can't go down past here and so on and so forth. So I'm thinking about cutting it all off. In the comments, what do you think? Should I go clean shaven? All right, Arthur's back. Okay, we left off with you talking about Glenn Youngkin, and I'm going to cut all this out.
Virginia. We're really hot to trot, so there are enemies trying to stop us, but I'm still going strong, and I appreciate your audience's patience. So, Virginia, Winsome Sears, she was elected in a landslide sweep with Glenn Youngkin at the top of the ticket. He was focusing on parental rights. He was able to be friendly to Trump, but he didn't embrace him. He didn't reject him either. He focused on Virginia, the Commonwealth, the parents. He was tapping into an extremely important issue across the country. Parents were storming school board meetings, screaming and yelling because girls were forced to share bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports teams with biological males. Loudoun County, a father was arrested at a school board meeting because he was simply protesting that his daughter was raped by a confused boy pretending to be a girl going into the girls' restroom. And by the way, a solid pro-family independent got elected to the school board in Loudoun County. So it goes to show this issue is not just a groundswell problem with it's not a Trump problem. This is a Winsome Sears problem. This was she didn't capture the magic that Glenn Youngkin had. This is a lady who she basically ran on a DEI platform once again. I'm a black female Republican, and I'm an immigrant. You should vote for me because I'm the first of every whatever. And here's the other thing. I wrote about this in my article.
Pierre.
This is something that didn't get enough attention. I watched the entire debate between Abigail Spanberger, she's the congresswoman who now got elected governor, and Winsome Sears. I was disgusted and I was so frustrated by this debate because Winsome Sears repeatedly interrupted, disrupted, shut down, and talked over Abigail Spanberger. Now, she had a strong point, which is that the Attorney General candidate, Jay Jones, had issued these murderous texts admitting that he wanted to shoot the Republican Speaker of the House at the time, and to kill his children. These were horrible, murderous things, especially in the light of what happened to Charlie Kirk on September 10th.
DA, too, in Virginia.
There you go. And
so,
Winsome Sears had a winning issue, but she just kept harping on it and interrupting her so that Spanberger couldn't say anything, right? But it backfired. It made Winsome Sears look desperate, inarticulate, and unprofessional. She looked bad. Abigail Spanberger was like calm, above the fray. I don't support violence. I'm asking for your support. She then hid behind the trans issue by talking about, I believe in local control and parents should have all the power. She was able to remain even keel, keep things quiet. Winsome Sears looked desperate, and she was desperate because she was already losing. But it gets worse. She turned on Trump in 2023. She had said, well, Trump has overstayed his welcome. He is a liability. He's no longer the leader. He needs to step aside. And
they put that in every commercial.
That's it. And she never recovered from that. She never apologized. She never tried to build bridges back with the grassroots in the state. I spoke with Stacey Langton. She's a parental rights activist in Loudoun County. Mama Bear, that's her handle on X. She was telling me she's not going to win. Republicans do not like her. She betrayed Donald Trump. People are really angry with her. And President Trump did not endorse her openly. He called her a turncoat. He called her a sellout. She did, he didn't marshal for her. And so she didn't make it. What really disgusts me, going back to the Attorney General, Jason Miyares is an excellent Attorney General. He was an effective advocate, a law enforcement officer. He went after election issues. He protected parents. He sued schools that were allowing these perverted boys to hurt girls in the bathrooms and the locker rooms. He was excellent. I was saying this even as early as June. He should have run for governor. He would have been a much more competitive candidate because he was doing stuff. He was paying attention to local issues. He didn't get caught up in the national MAGA drama, unfortunately. And this is a bigger fallout. We've been talking about how Republican parties are failing. The Virginia Republican Party really failed here. They wanted a coronation. Look at that. They didn't allow for a competitive primary. They wanted to give Winsome Sears, they wanted to give her the coronation. It gets worse. The lieutenant governor candidate was an openly gay Republican who was caught up in a pornography controversy. This is really disturbing stuff. There was no vetting process with a primary. There was this expectation that the voters would just go along with these three candidates. Jason Miyares was the incumbent. He was an excellent, stellar candidate. And I'm very disappointed. There are Virginia Republicans who are already suggesting Miyares should run for governor in 2029. It gets worse, unfortunately. In Virginia, it's not just the 3 statewide races that went blue. Democrats now dominate the legislature. They got 63 seats. That is a huge margin. It is completely lopsided now. I hate to say it, but I think Virginia is now gone. I think it is now like Maryland. It is a blue state. There is no getting around it. Too many people work for the federal government now. And I thought the shutdown was going to drag down Abigail Spanberger, but it didn't really matter. Democrats were going to turn out and vote for their Democrat Party slate, regardless of whether they were a federal worker or not. And that's what happened. There was just a huge conflation of issues. Winsome Sears didn't talk about real issues. She ran on a DEI platform. She didn't have the Glenn Youngkin connection or magic. And she did a terrible job as a debater. She just didn't resonate. So that's what happened in Virginia. And I think it's a lost cause at this point. I hate being so cynical, but that's where it's at. The other disappointment, let's talk about New Jersey. Jack Ciattarelli ran a great campaign as well. He sized up properly along MAGA issues, but he talked about local issues. He talked about electric costs. He talked about job issues. He talked about inflation. He talked about immigration. He talked about keeping boys out of girls' sports. He talked about all the right issues. The fact of the matter is New Jersey is still a blue state. Yes, Donald Trump was very close. Yes, Kamala Harris was a terrible candidate. There were ethnic enclaves in northern New Jersey that veered very sharply to the right in 2024. But the New Jersey election was something different. The voter turnout was a lot higher. Democrats, again, really supercharged their turnout, even in red counties. Yes, Republicans still had the higher vote total, but Democrats increased their margins in those red counties like Ocean County, Lakewood, etc. And Ciattarelli just didn't have a chance. Trump supported Ciattarelli openly. And Jack Ciattarelli, I think, was able to balance where he stood. But the fact of the matter is, New Jersey is still a blue state. It's a tragedy. It's frustrating. I think that New Jersey Republicans have a better chance of turning their state red than Virginia does. I think Virginia is – there's too many federal workers now. Until you start really cutting the federal government fat, until you get people off the federal teat, whether as welfare recipients or workers, Virginia is now basically another Maryland. It's unfortunate, but that's what we're dealing with there. Last of all, we look at New York City. We all were. You want to jump in, please?
Let me try and paint this picture. Andrew Cuomo, former mayor of New York, ran that city. Governor. I'm sorry.
Sure.
Bill de Blasio was there, right? Anyway, Andrew Cuomo. Horrible, just horrible. But he's got a name. The Cuomo name is very well known and very prevalent. Yeah. The Democrats did not get behind him. Instead, they pushed Mom Donnie, who's got all kinds of connections with Soros. He's got a nice little press photo, as a matter of fact, with Alex Soros, George's son. Yes. He had huge money behind him. And then along comes Curtis Sliwa. Now, I love Curtis Sliwa, and I even ran a little bit of that debate, and he was extraordinary. He did such a great job.
Yes, he did.
Our own Republican Party did not back him, and our own president and vice president did not back him.
Yeah.
They endorsed Andrew Cuomo for mayor of New York. I'm like, yeah. What? Why? Yes. Well, because we all have to get behind him because Curtis Sliwa doesn't stand a chance. Maybe he would have, if you would have done the right thing, regardless of what you think is going to be a win politically. Maybe he could have and would have and should have won. No, it was a trouncing. It was a trounce. Even if you combine Sliwa and Cuomo's, and you made this point in your article, so now I'll turn it over to you. Yeah, and it was a perfect point. You said even if all their votes for them combined would not have been enough to beat Mom Donnie.
Yep.
And so now we have an open communist, Islamic extremist, and I say that because he refuses to denounce horrific things that his own religion is doing in the name of pleasing Allah. Good luck, New York. You've got a mayor now of your city that is. He's promising all kinds of freebies. So everybody turned out and went, yay, we're going to get freebies. And what's going to be the outcome of that, do you think, Arthur?
Well, I want to, first a reflection on the campaign itself. I really like the point you bring up. Sliwa is not the problem. Sliwa did not drag down Cuomo. It's very sad. Staten Island is the most Republican borough of the 5 boroughs in New York City. And Cuomo won the majority, and yet it didn't make a difference. Cuomo was a terrible candidate. He had a terrible record as governor. This is a routine practice I shared with you in our last
His own party said no, they wouldn't endorse him as running for mayor, so he went independent.
That's
because he
right.
thought
He lost the
everybody
primary.
loves me.
He lost the primary. Democratic voters said we want the communist, socialist, Muslim extremist to be the
Yes.
Democratic standard bearer. Now there are cynical appraisals. We can look at people who just want to destroy America, and that's why they propped him up. But if you look at voters who are just not thinking beyond their own self-interest or who are thinking in terms of identity politics, they saw Cuomo as worse than damaged goods. He was a sexual predator to them, no matter what the status of the final court case or investigation. It doesn't matter. He was accused of it. He was facing impeachment, and he resigned as governor. He was a disgraced politician, to say the least. Yes, Cuomo is a big family name. His father served as governor, but his father was thrown out of office in 1994. A Republican beat him at the time. So Cuomo was damaged goods from day one. The arrogance of this guy stepping into the New York city mayor's race, thinking that, well, I'm not the communist, so you got to vote for me or you're going to get the communist. People don't think that way. People do not like being pushed into that. You got to choose me because I'm the better of the two. Voters do not think that way. They are driven by emotion, identity, or character, or even policies. And I said this
Who's giving them
before.
freebies?
Or give me those freebies. And that's exactly what it came down to. There was a liberal New Yorker who was questioned by a conservative podcaster in New York City. And the question was, are you going to vote for Cuomo or Mamdani? And it really came down to this. Am I going to vote for the criminal, or am I going to vote for the guy who promises me a Lamborghini? So obviously they're going to go for the guy who says, I'm going to give you a Lamborghini. That's exactly what it came down to. Gimme, free stuffs, free bus, free school, free pre-K. We're going to have groceries, government-run grocery stores. Gimme, give. This is Bernie Sanders, but not a lot younger and a lot more photogenic and a lot more articulate, and not afraid to say globalize the intifada and not apologize for it. What is really striking, too, is you had 30% of the Jewish population in New York City. This is the largest concentration of Jewish voters is in New York City, and they voted for the jihadi.
It's crazy.
They might as well have voted for Hitler. There, I said it. We can do this on Rumble. We can't do this on YouTube, but there it is. You can't say the mustache guy. But that's what it amounts to. They voted for a guy who is totally okay with globalize the intifada, which is basically internationalized Nazism. That's what it amounts to. It is a sad, decrepit moral collapse. This goes back to Ben Shapiro's observation in 2015. A lot of Jewish voters are not religious. They don't even care about their Jewish identity. They're driven by a leftist agenda. This is true, sadly, for a lot of ethnic groups, and that's what's happening. And that's why you'll have self-loathing white people who want to open up the border and bring in a lot of anti-European or anti-white, certainly anti-American militancy into the country. They have no problem in embracing Islamic jihad coming into their neighborhoods, because there is such a hatred of the West. There's such a hatred of self. There's such a hatred of, West, the Christian ethic, the Judeo-Christian heritage. There is just such a vile self-loathing, all of it propagated by cultural Marxism, that they are so addicted to. And it was on full display in the New York City general election. They voted for it. They deserve what they get. The New York Post tried to find a silver lining or put a better face on this whole thing. Mamdani did not get a mandate. He barely got 50%, which is pretty low for a winning candidate running for mayor. I mean, I think Eric Adams got like 70% of the vote in 2021 that was a pretty close. The primary was close. The general election was not even no contest. Sliwa ran then, and he got like 20% of the vote versus Eric Adams. But this time around, it was 50% plus one to Mamdani. It was 40%, 41% for Cuomo, and then 7% for Sliwa. Once again, Sliwa didn't do anything wrong. But this is also a problem with the Republican Party of New York City and New York State. No stronger, broader appeal Republican bothered to run. There you go. So you're going to get a perennial candidate like Sliwa, who is a grassroots activist, cares about people, but didn't have a machine, didn't have an organization, didn't have much of a profile. And in fact, of course he's controversial. He's a guardian angel. He went after criminals. He started fights with people, and Donald Trump didn't like him. And you know what? This is not good from Donald Trump that he endorsed Cuomo.
I'm very disappointed in him for that.
And we should, we have to have that freedom to criticize our leaders. This was a mistake. He should have kept his mouth shut. But Cuomo made a point, and I think just as there's a silver lining with Prop 50, the federal courts are stepping in. I think Cuomo's warning will be accurate. President Trump is going to have to step in personally. This is the largest, most populous city in the country. The mayor cannot just blatantly defy federal law and allow illegals to come into the country and defy federal authorities. There's going to be a lot of money cut. There's going to be a lot of fallout. That's what I predict happening. Now, some of the people I've spoken to have said, well, Mamdani's at the top of the ticket. He's now the face of the Democratic Party. But you know what? You see a lot of socialist candidates running around the country, and this is going to prop up socialism, and communists are going to start winning elections. I disagree. And the reason why is this. Minneapolis and Seattle. Minneapolis had a Mamdani clone, Omar Fateh, a Somali immigrant running against Jacob Fry. Fry is terrible. In Minneapolis, the one good thing he had is he didn't support defunding the police, because Minneapolis is a total hellhole when it comes to crime rates. He was elected to a third term, even though the Hennepin County Democratic Party initially endorsed Fateh. They endorsed the challenger, which is unprecedented for a political party to endorse a challenger over an incumbent, and yet he was able to get that scrapped. Jacob Fry just won re-election. In Seattle, Washington, there is Brian Harrell. He's half Japanese, half black. He got elected on a more pro-law enforcement agenda. He's still a leftist. He still has problems. I don't like the guy. Eric Adams was better than this guy in Seattle. Yet he was facing a challenge also from the left. Katie Wilson, I believe is her name. She is losing right now. They're still counting ballots in Seattle. Seattle still has issues. But the communists didn't win in Seattle. The communists didn't win in Minneapolis. I do predict if you put Mamdani in front of every Democrat running in a purple to light blue and even a light red district that is competitive across this country, you're going to see Republicans being able to pull up their chances. I do predict, I'm not giving this up, I am clear-eyed looking at the terrible results of 2025. I think that Republicans, if they keep it going, if they get down to brass tacks, work on the issues, focus on America, they can hold on to the House. I believe they can do it. The Democrat Party, their civil war has just opened up wide. Mamdani won, and he's going to be a drag because you got a lot of people in the Midwest, in the Rust Belt states, and in the Southwest who do not want what Mamdani is selling. Grijalva just got elected to that special election. Anne Grijalva, well, she's the daughter of Raul Grijalva, who passed away. She just got elected. She was not a Mamdani Democrat. She was more aligned with the Pelosi wing. Now, they're both crazy leftists, don't get me wrong, but one is just crazier than the other. But crazy. We do have opportunities here to rebuild, restore, and retake election chances and opportunities going into 26. It's not over. Getting back to Prop 50, I can't say this enough. Federal lawsuit already filed seeking an injunction. I suspect it will be successful because this is a big deal. This is a huge implication to redraw the districts, having violated so many laws to do so. This is way too sudden. They're doing this now in November, and you have to file, I think, by March in order to compete for the primary in June. So this is like really forcing everybody to turn on a dime. I don't really see how this is possible. I think just for the fact that they're trying to change everything so quickly, even if there was no other problems, I would not be surprised if there was an injunction just for that alone. There is so much confusion. There are so many problems. So at least for 2026, I think those 9 Republicans still have a chance. Now, the flip side is Democrats might be really angry that they didn't get the new districts, so they'll turn out in higher numbers. I don't know. But there's a lot to work on. There's a lot of opportunity. I rounded up my comments in American Thinker. Damn it, Republicans have got to stop arguing about foreign policy issues. All of this insanity, arguing about Israel, arguing about anti-Semitism. Look, anti-Semitism is evil. I'm not, but the people who are fomenting this crap are incidental. They are not essential. People sitting at home trying to pay their bills, raise their kids, prepare for their future are not worried about foreign policy. They're worried about the border. They're worried about their communities. They're worried about their financial future. And we've got to get back to that. We can't allow all the meme wars and the social media and all this nonsense to distract us. I don't think that was the key point with what happened in 25, but I will say this much. Tucker Carlson could have interviewed Jack Ciattarelli. He could have interviewed Winsome Sears, could have said, hey, Winsome, do you want to apologize to President Trump right now? President Trump, I apologize. I really need your help. All of this could have assisted us. All of this could have helped them. Kurt Sliwa, not once did he get Tucker, why didn't you interview Kurt Sliwa? You know, what's going on here? You could have given this guy a boost. They were not focusing on what was really need to be done here. We can talk about MAGA all we want, but we've got to keep winning elections. I also made this point. 2024 is over. We can't bask in the glories of 24. Yes, we won every swing state. Yes, we increased our voter turnout. Yes, we got 4 U.S. Senate seats. All of this is great. But election 2026 is going to be different. There's going to be a whole set of issues. And we had a brief discussion before this broadcast. I asked you, how is the economy going? Do you feel that it's a good economy, a bad economy? And the fact is, we may be living a good life right now. Things may feel better, but I will say this much: some of the groceries are less. Eggs are cheaper. I was looking at a dozen eggs was $9.99 for a dozen eggs. This was in December last year. Thank you, Joe Biden. President Trump has fixed that. I was able to buy a dozen eggs for $1.99. That's actually cheaper than during the first few months of the Biden administration. So some prices have gone down.
And it's about to happen with energy too. Actually, it is in the rest of the country. California is falsely inflating prices on everything because, first of all, one, they get more tax revenue. And that's how they're keeping all these prices high, especially with fuel and registration of vehicles. But in the meantime, there's a lot of really dumbass people going, well, I thought Trump was going to fix the prices here. You're blaming Trump because California is so expensive? What's wrong with you? They're falsely inflating the prices through taxation. And unfortunately, with many, it's working. I see in the media now, they seem to be, they like they always do, when there's an overwhelming majority of us, when there's a landslide like the 24 election was, they all try and act like, oh, well, I guess we need to rethink this and maybe we should support what the people want win. And they start reporting more favorably towards that candidate. But give them 10 months and they will start what they're doing right now. And I'm seeing it over and over and over again in the media. And as much as I despise my own business, I've grown to hate my own business. I know that it's effective, not with us, not with you and me, Arthur, and not with people who think the way we do and desire for the best for everybody. No, they're answering to a different higher power, the one who's hell-bent on destroying the United States of America as we know it, because you can't usher in your one world government as long as the United States of America and a constitutional republic is standing in the way. That's what powers them. And it might sound like a crazy conspiracy theory, CharLee, but I'm telling you, man, that's what's going on. And I'm seeing it now in the media. And we, as conservatives, get smart. Stop buying into that. Stop believing, oh, Trump's popularity is waning. I see AOC, I see Bernie Sanders, I see Gavin Newsom in his press conference talking about, that's the lowest approval ratings. Nobody likes them anymore. Nobody wants them anymore. And nobody's challenging them. Nobody's saying, really? I just saw some polling. He's one of the most popular presidents this nation's ever had since polling's been done, since polling began. He is extremely popular in the rest of the nation, but you're telling me he's not? Where do you get that information from? Nobody asks.
It's all dishonest what they're saying. They are trying to, again, it's a media campaign. It's a whole smear campaign. It isn't working. President Trump, I do agree. I think Dr. Steve Turley talked about this briefly today as well. We're getting way too caught up in foreign policy. I'm glad that President Trump has brokered all of these deals around the world, but how is it helping us? That's a key issue, and that is not getting attention right now. It is never too late to turn things around again. Sometimes you need the referendum of these off-year elections. Hey, get back on track. We need to be. And President Trump's already doing that. He has restructured the leadership in the Border Patrol and ICE agencies to make sure we are deporting more illegals. But I want to get to this issue of affordability has been coming up. I didn't get to explore this enough because I was just looking at what does the election mean. But if we have a lot of voters, even in red states, who still feel like I can't buy a home, I don't feel like I have a good future ahead of me, I don't feel like my kid's education is getting any better, I don't feel, if they're not feeling the benefits of an improved Trump administration, they are going to vote differently. That's just the fact of it. So they've got to really supercharge the reforms. They've got to really double down on cutting the spending and cutting the crap in our federal government. They really need to show, people need to feel the results in their marketplace, in their business, at school, in their families. And if that isn't happening, they won't turn out and vote. I can't stress this enough. 2026 is not going to be 2024. We can't live in the past. Look at how well we did. We won all the swing states. Everything can turn on a dime. Yep. And polling, it may give the impression that things are looking good, but it doesn't mean it will be that way. The only poll that matters is the ballot that is cast. And that's what really matters. I don't think we should. The other point I want to make is that every Democrat, every leftist is going to look at this and go, look at this. It's a resurgent for the Democrat Party. This is a short-lived victory for them. This is a brief sugar high. This is like a brief respite. Because the fact is, we're talking about New York City, which was a Democrat hellhole to begin with. We're talking about Virginia, that votes 10 degrees more to the left than the rest of the country now. We're talking about New Jersey, which has been a historically Democratic state. These are the issues, plus the fact that we had candidates who had issues, plus the fact that there wasn't a proper vetting process. And here's the other thing, Republicans, conservatives, MAGA, whatever term you want to use, we have to have a serious discussion and a serious mission. What is the GOP going to look like? Steve Bannon needs to shut up. I don't want to hear about this. Trump's going to run for a third term. This is silly. It is unproductive. It's lazy.
I agree.
He doesn't want to.
Talk about firing up the left to show up in droves and to cheat however possible.
Yeah, because it's like we condemn cheating, and now Sloppy Steve is saying, well, we're going to cheat too because we're going to let him run a third term. No, thank you. God bless Donald Trump. He's vastly improved over the first term. The first term was pretty good. Don't get me wrong. The second term is even better. He's not running again, folks. Somebody has to pick up the pieces and take up the mantle. If it's going to be J.D. Vance, he better have a way to cut his own brand and be able to win over those same coalition of voters. And we got to talk about winning suburban voters again. That is still an issue. Georgia, whoa, we got to worry about Georgia right now. Some Democrats picked up the public safety or a public commission. There was a public commission. It was an election commission or something. Republicans still control that board, but it's now 3-2 instead of 5-0. Pay attention, folks. North Carolina still has a Democrat governor. They elected another one. You've got to be precise, focusing on issues, not being crazy, focusing on real problems. It can't just be MAGA, 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 because not everybody is MAGA. And it doesn't mean they hate Trump. They voted for Trump, but they're not wearing a MAGA hat every day. You got to focus on what are they caring about. And don't alienate MAGA. Don't alienate Trump. Obviously, look at Winsome Sears. But there has to be a real vetting process. As far as California is concerned, I think it's just people haven't hurt enough. It's unfortunate. We're going to have to rely on outside assistance from a strong federal government or a more conservative federal government and a great judiciary. Thank God for the Supreme Court. But, we'll see what happens. I think Virginia is gone. That's unfortunate. But here's the flip side. President Trump got elected with all swing states. He didn't get New Jersey or Virginia. Doesn't matter. Didn't have to win them. We don't have to worry about it for now. But we do have to hope that in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, another disappointment, very briefly, there were 3 Supreme Court justices up for election, 3 Democrats. They had a chance to stop them. The voters didn't get it done. So this is still an issue. We got to turn up that, off your election vote. But look, Pennsylvania did poorly. Here's the other thing I wanted to talk to, that silver lining returning. 2022 was devastating. We expected a huge red wave, and it didn't happen. Okay, so 2025, we saw a blue wave. But look, great things happened at the next election. Sometimes we need a kick in the shins like this to really get us to wake up and focus again. And we've got better people in the RNC. Donald Trump is still an effective legislator. He's still an effective leader, I think the U.S. Senate is in good standing. They have held their ground on this shutdown. The different set of issues will be on the ballot in 26 that we can still win on. All is not lost. Blue states got bluer. It's unfortunate. Let them suffer. And let's keep our eye on the prize for the long term. There's a lot of opportunity here. We shouldn't get too depressed, or we shouldn't throw up our hands and quit.
Let them suffer. I'm glad you said that, because that's how I'm feeling about New York for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you, my friend. Always enjoy talking with you. And where do we find you? Tell us about your blog spot.
Oh, brother. Especially. There's lots of things. I have my own blog spot, aschaper1.blogspot.com, ASCHAPER ashot1.blogspot.com. I write for Town Hall. I write for American Greatness. American Thinker, thank you again to the editors for putting my article right at the top. They took it right away. So grateful. Canada Free Press, they even published my stuff, even in Canada. And I still working for Mass Resistance. We're still kicking butt, fighting LGBT perversion. And I'm having a great time doing it all.
That is important work too. Massresistance.org. Massresistance.org. Look it up and look what they are doing and get involved. That's the best thing you can do is get involved and support people like Arthur, support people like me doing this show. As we're going to keep fighting the good fight with or without your support, I have to say, just because this is what we're driven with. This is our ministry. But if you could get involved and get behind it, that would be a huge help. Thank you, Arthur. Talk to you soon, my friend. I always love talking to him. It's always a kick. The best thing I can do is just wind him up and get out of the way. But I always have to interject because I'm a loudmouth that way. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God.